Joining us once again here on the desk, Jeff Mason covering the White House for Reuters. The president has been in office for 1 month now.
Yeah, feels longer.
To some folks, it might feel like, 1 year. Let's start, though, with this move on the Pentagon.
Yeah.
There had been conversations about this possibly happening before the president was re-inaugurated. However, the relationships had seemed to improve. They were very congratulatory of him in this announcement.
Yes, they were.
So what happened?
I think a couple things. I think number one, President Trump prizes loyalty above all else, and having an opportunity or creating an opportunity to put in leaders who he knows are loyal to him is an important criteria for him. Number two, as we've seen over the last month, the Trump administration and the president in particular have not been a fan of anything related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And the now former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff had been put out statements of support after the killing of George Floyd, and was otherwise supportive of those types of programs, and that's not going over well with this administration.
Well, this came on a Friday night after a week of more movement on Doge.
Right.
The latest being what we talked about at the beginning of this broadcast, this email that went out about tell us what you did this week, and if you don't answer, you're out. When the White House is asked about how targeted or non-targeted these firings have been, what's their answer?
Well, I mean, in general, their answer is that Elon Musk has been charged with cutting waste and fraud, and a part of that, at least what they see as waste, has involved cutting jobs. Now, I think what you mentioned just now about that email was interesting because it's kind of Elon Musk acting like a CEO of a large company, but we're talking millions of federal workers who will be sending these emails on Monday, except for the FBI, because the new FBI director, I don't think, liked that email and sent one to his staff as well saying, no, we're the ones who determine whether or not, what you've done last week and how it went.
There's an element of building the house while you're living in it
100%.
To all of this right now. One of the things that was interesting in some of the statements Elon Musk had made just recently is he said, we're going to make some mistakes along the way. There was an incidence of people who had been working on bird flu.
Yeah.
That were let go and apparently had to be brought back. There was an incident of people who were let go in regards to nuclear inspections that were let go and come back. Is there a plan, or is there a wide swath of firings going on and then they figure out after the fact whether or not we need to bring these people back?
Hard for me to answer that. I wish he were here so that he could. I was in the Oval Office the day that he took questions from reporters and made the remarks that you just said about mistakes. The thing about that answer and the thing about generally what he's doing is these mistakes have huge consequences. I mean, you mentioned bird flu, you mentioned nuclear. Those are not small issues that you kind of can go back and quickly correct. That doesn't mean they're not trying to quickly correct them, but the impact of these very quick decisions to fire people is not small.
It is an admission, though, that you don't hear from the president. The president is not one to say that he would make mistakes often. We are expecting more legal action is going to move on this. Doge has actually done fairly well in some of these earlier court cases, but is the White House game plan where this pyramid goes to the Supreme Court for all of this?
It might be. I mean, the president has said that we being he and the administration, will do what the courts say, but appeal. So I think those appeals could go all the way up to the very top.
One of the headlines this past week was when the president had remarked about the war in Ukraine, now coming up on its 3rd anniversary, and said that the President Zelensky had started the war, that even Republicans had come out and said that that was not the case. But there's a very important meeting on the way with European leaders coming to Washington. How key is that going to be right now? Because the United States and Russia have at least begun the conversation on how to park this war.
For sure. He walked that comment back a little bit, although not entirely. He was very, very critical of President Zelensky last week. And I think that criticism will also underscore the meetings that he has with the leaders of France and Britain. The French, the British, the Europeans generally, and other members of NATO have been very supportive of Ukraine. And the fact that President Trump is coming in and sort of mixing that up and getting closer to Putin is going to be a sore point.
Jeff Mason joining us from Reuters this morning. It's always a pleasure, my friend, to have
Back
you
at
at this desk. We appreciate it.